Today we're going to talk about how a middle schooler who refused to read Harry Potter eventually became a girl whose entire life revolved around a blog where she plays Harry Potter characters. Let's get started. I was that kid in middle school that thought that popular things were only popular because people kept reading them because they were popular and not because they were actually any good. Because of that, I resisted reading Harry Potter for a very long time, which is just so sad. By the time I started reading Harry Potter, the fourth book was already out, which meant that the first one that I had to wait for was the fifth one, where J.K. Rowling told us that somebody was going to die. Yeah. I entirely blame three cousins for getting me into Harry Potter. Andrew, because he had the fourth book in his car, so I started leafing through it and was like, what the heck is this? Okay, maybe this might be good. Kelsey, because she insisted that I read the first two books before I decided whether I liked them or not, and of course by the end of the second one, I was hooked. And Lene, because she was the first one to discover fan fiction, and we all know what that does. My foray into fan fiction started with Draco and Hermione. That was my fandom, that was my pairing. My day began and ended with Hermione. I was all aboard that ship. Then I found this fan fiction called Draco Malfoy, the Amazing Bouncing ... rat, and it was hilarious, and the characterization of Draco was so good, and the Hermione in it was perfect. And of course, when you find a book that hits all of those spots, you go and read everything else that the author has ever written, and you don't bother checking what the pairings are or reading the summary of the story. You just start reading. Well, the next book of hers that I read was called Underwater Light, and I was about a third of the way through the book before I realized that I was reading a Draco and Harry novel. Yeah, that happened. I was tricked into reading Drarry, people. I didn't fall down the rabbit hole. I was pulled into it. Hashtag no regrets. Now, of course, no matter which fandom I get into or which pairings I love, Draco and Harry will always and forever be my number one ultimate OTP. Thanks, Maya. Once the movie started, my love and obsession for Draco Malfoy took on another level. Tom Felton was my very first celebrity crush. I wasn't into NSYNC, I wasn't into Backstreet Boys, I didn't like the Hanson brothers. To me, celebrities were just celebrities, and I never had crushes on them until Tom Felton. I actually made him this little gone fishing cross stitch and drew a picture of a bass and sent him a letter with a picture of myself in a bathing suit as my first and only ever fan mail. About the time that I was getting into Harry Potter fan fiction, I was also getting into role-playing, text-based role-playing on one of my friends' forums in high school, and from there my love of writing just shot through the roof and expanded, and of course I started writing fan fiction too. My early fan fiction efforts are still up on fanfiction.net. 2 unfinished stories, one with my cousin Kelsey and I as self-inserts into the story. She also wrote one. We were like American exchange students. I think in hers she ended up with Draco. In mine, I was like a crazy matchmaking genius who thought that all Gryffindors should date Slytherins. I never went to any of the midnight releases of the books. I was kind of a cheater in that way. I wanted my copy and I wanted to go home and read, so typically I just kind of went to a Walmart that was open 24 hours and like walked in and picked it up off a table and paid for it and walked out. I didn't wait in line, ever. I did go to a few of the midnight releases for the movies. The very last one I was actually at was the last movie in Alaska, because I was working as a nanny up there. I wore a green dress, went all by myself and told people that I was a Slytherin, trying to look like a muggle. I also identified pretty strongly as a Slytherin up until Pottermore became a thing, and then as I started to learn more about the other houses and learn more about myself, I eventually came to identify as a Ravenclaw, but it took some time, and I'm still like very much rooted in Slytherin, but Ravenclaw first, then Slytherin right there underneath it. Slytherclaw. Harry Potter has brought some amazing things into my life. I got to go to LeakyCon up in Portland, and I got to meet some of my favorite YouTubers. I got to meet some of the cast of Star Kid. It was crazy. And of course, it took over 10 years of being obsessed with this fandom and this thing before the most remarkable thing that Harry Potter would do for me happened. Last year, just before Christmas, I stumbled across two Harry Potter role-playing blogs. One was Ask the Boy Who Had No Choice, and one was Ask the Boy Who Lived. And that kind of changed everything. As I already mentioned, I had already been involved in role-playing, but this gift-based role-playing was something I had never seen before. And as somebody that also loved the stage and had already made YouTube videos in the past, I was like, this is something I could get in on. This is cool. So, just a little over a year ago, I started my Ask Dora Tonks blog, and I started role-playing. And I could never have guessed where that was going to take me. This blog has carried me through one of the most difficult years that I've ever had. While 2016 had a lot of highs for me, I got to go to Ireland for the first time. I got to meet all of these amazing people from the blog. I got to meet Andy and Katie and Moons and TT and Lena and Aaron and Melly. I got to meet Melly, guys. I got to meet Melly, guys. I got to meet Melly. In spite of all of those wonderful things that happened, 2016 was still really hard for me. I almost lost both my aunt and my grandpa. The Pulse shooting in Orlando was one of the most traumatic public events that has happened in my life. This blog has carried me through each trial that I faced in the last year, because the people who are following it, the people who are watching it, the people who watch me put on crazy wigs and make funny faces into my camera, the ones who are always there with love and support and kind words anytime I am feeling the least bit poorly or I'm having a bad day. You guys don't even have to know that I'm having a bad day to pour in love to my inbox on just random occasions. And that is a truly wonderful thing. I see a lot of people in social media talk about how supportive and lovely that their fans or followers or subscribers are. And I know that all of them are also dealing with negative people that are interacting with their blogs and their channels. And I don't deal with that. You guys have been 100% positive. I have always felt blessed to be part of the Harry Potter fandom. It has shaped who I am as a person in so many ways. It has shaped a generation of readers and thinkers. For all the faults that the books have, they've made deeper, more considerate thinkers out of all of us, so that we're able to criticize something that we love. We're able to read Harry Potter and go, J.K. Rowling, you know what? You got this part wrong. There are so many beautiful little things that the fandom has acknowledged should have been handled better, but we still love it anyway. The fact that we can love something and we can allow it to make us better and then turn around in fandom and make it better is really cool. I want you guys to know how amazing that is. You are all amazing because you allow for this openness of this conversation to happen. If you guys weren't there listening to us, none of us would have any reason to speak. Even if you don't actively participate, which you absolutely can and should if you're thinking about it, but even if you don't, just witnessing it is pretty incredible and says a lot about you. I have a feeling that my YouTube channel is going to take on a new life. I'm hoping to do more travel type stuff. I'm hoping to see the world and to take you guys with me. I'd love to share my experiences for trying to find a job on a cruise ship, or writing a novel, or seeing new things, venturing into my 30s this year. And I'd like to take you all with me on that journey. But I don't expect all of you to come. I want you to know that whether you decide to continue following me or not, I will be with you until the very end. I love you. Bye-bye.